Hey, Motorman here. I'm back at Gator Harley-Davidson, and I'm going to do a road test on the Road Glide, the 2020 Road Glide Special #1. It's got a special paint job. You're going to see it in just a second, and I hope you enjoy this road test. And here is the Road Glide Special Edition #1. You can see the beautiful big #1 on there. Red, white, and blue. It is a sharp looking motorcycle. They make this, there's two versions of this, the other one being blue with the white and the #1. And Harley-Davidson paint jobs are, well, Harley-Davidson is known for having excellent paint jobs to begin with, and this is a custom paint job. So I'd have to compare it directly side by side with a standard Road Glide or Harley-Davidson to see if the paint is any higher quality. It's difficult to tell, but since they're of the highest quality to begin with, I'd say the quality-wise the paint job is the same. It's just a matter of, do you like this look, this two-tone look? And I really like it. It makes the bike really stand out. This is of course blacked out. It's got the 114 motor. This particular model has the RDRS, or as I like to call it, cornering ABS and traction control. That's a $9.95 extra, and I think it's well worth it. You're going to spend over $27,000 for a motorcycle. An extra $9.95 is not going to kill you. Now, I want you to know, initially I was never crazy about the Road Glide fairing, and it really hasn't changed much over the years, but for some reason it's either grown on me or they've made some subtle changes to it that, to me, I now like them. I can't say if I like it better than the Batwing fairing, but it's definitely a different look, and it is a handsome motorcycle. The dual headlights look great, and of course with everything blacked out here, I kind of like that look. Blacked out forks, crash bars. In fact, the whole, and you're paying extra also, by the way, for the, that comes in the special edition for the blacked out version. Overall, beautiful, classic looking motorcycle. So now let's take it for a ride and see what it's like. Alright, the first thing I notice is the bike sits pretty low. I'm completely flat-footed, no problem. And the handlebars, since they have quite a bit of pullback here, you could adjust them up or down. If you're a taller person, you want them further away from you. Right now, the way they're adjusted, if it was mine, I'd probably bring it back about an inch because I like to have plenty of leverage. But it is a big improvement over years past. That was one of the things I never liked about the Road Glide, was the riding position. It felt like the seat put me too far back and the handlebars are too far forward, and they didn't have as much pullback as they do on this bike right now. Gonna lower down the music, so I don't want any copyright infringements on my YouTube channel. And notice too that the controls for the radio and everything is right there at your fingertips. Harley did an excellent job getting the controls just right, so you don't have to move your hands, of course, from the handlebars. It works perfectly. I'm not big into the GPS and the radio and all that kind of thing, but I know a lot of people are, and don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to press a couple of buttons here. Got your telephone, compass, music, and it can also all be controlled by the hand controls as well. But let's take it out for a ride and see how it feels. By the way, when you start up the motorcycle, you notice that the M8 motors are much smoother, than in years past. The last twin cam they had in 2016 was a smooth motor, very torquey, but these are even better. There's almost no vibration that gets through to the rider, to the hand grips, or the floorboards. Yet you still have the V-twin character. How they did that exactly, I can't say, but I think Harley did an excellent job with that. Of course, in 2020, the bikes no longer come with a heel toe shifter. It's just a toe shifter. I got kind of used to that heel toe shifter, and I prefer it. And of course, it's still available. The stock exhaust, I've got tab mufflers on all of my Harleys. I've got 3 of them, and they sound terrific. But the stock exhaust, since the motor is quieter, they were allowed to bring up the decibels of the exhaust to make it, even the stock exhaust, sound really good. That 114 motor, of course, has got plenty of power, plenty of torque, and just smooth as could be. I mean, it's not an electric motor. It's not a Gold Wing for sure. It's still got the V-twin character. But I've been riding Harleys over 20 years now. And I think by far the Milwaukee 8 motor is the most refined, best motor that Harley-Davidson has ever made. Some people might disagree with me. In fact, quite a few people, but that's okay. That's my opinion. Riding position is perfectly upright. That's what I like the best. I like to sit straight up. My feet on the floorboards are not too far forward, not too far back. It's really a perfect compromise for me, and for quite a few people, I imagine, because that's what one of the jobs of the engineers is, to make these motorcycles fit a wide variety of sizes of people. That power is, I mean, right off of idle. Very torquey motor. Now I have to check. I'm not sure if this bike comes with the 1-inch shorter rear shocks. Generally, the bikes with the shorter rear shocks have a little bit stiffer ride, and they will bottom out a little bit easier, especially if you got the bike loaded up where you're riding 2 up. Roads here are really good, fairly smooth. So while the ride, I wouldn't call it plush. It's on the firm side, but not objectionable at all. By the way, Leesburg, if you're anywhere within 100 miles of this dealership, this is where you should come to take a look at their motorcycles and test ride them, because it's a great area. It's about the best riding in the state of Florida. And they'll let you test ride just about any motorcycle, unlike most metric dealers. You walk into your average Honda dealership and they won't let you take a $5,000 Rebel for a ride. I think that's kind of foolish, but that's the way it is. Harley, on the other hand, they'll let you ride most anything. Try the brakes. Got into the ABS just slightly there. Bike stops on a dime. Very powerful brakes on these motorcycles. And if you're a sport bike rider, those bikes too, sport bikes and sport tours, have very powerful brakes, but they don't stop any quicker than a bike like this. And the reason for that is if you try to stop too hard on a short wheelbase sport bike, it tends to want to lift that rear wheel. You don't have to worry about that on a cruiser style motorcycle, and that's one of the reasons they stop. Their brakes are just as good as even some of the really high-tech sport bikes. It's simple physics. Now I'm at 4th gear, going 45. I open up the throttle, the bike just takes off. It's got that much torque, no lugging. If you get into a corner a little bit too fast or start to accelerate a little bit too much, with the RDRS system, it's going to prevent that rear tire from kicking out. And I know if you're a skilled rider, it shouldn't be your main concern. However, sometimes you can come around a curve and run into some sand or some wet leaves. So it is a lifesaver, no question about that. Here you go, there's some sand right there. Now, I've ridden this route before, so I was pretty much prepared for that. As far as blocking the wind with this type fairing, I don't believe it blocks quite as much as the batwing fairing, because the batwing fairing is a lot closer to you. Generally, the closer the windshield or the fairing is to your body, the better the wind protection you're going to have. Now I'm going to pick up some speed as soon as we get to a straight road and see how it is at higher speeds. The windshield is quite low, but I guess because of the aerodynamics of it, if I put my hand right over here, I could feel the air is right about here. So theoretically, as it comes back, I've moved my hand back towards my face. It's barely any wind actually hitting my face, even with this low windshield. If you happen to be a taller person, I'm 5'7", but you might have heard me say I'm 6'4" on some of the videos. That's because I identify as a 6'4" person. Yeah, seriously, I identify as a much taller person than I am. But if you're a taller person, you can of course get a taller windshield. That's one thing about Harley-Davidson, is if the factory doesn't have it, and they got a ton of accessories. I mean, it's like a telephone book if you look through their accessories. But if the Harley doesn't sell it, the aftermarket, you can bet, does. Anything you want for one of these motorcycles, you can get it. For sure, the riding position is much better on the newer road glides than it used to be. As I said, I haven't ridden any distance before, but in the past 5, 6, 8 years ago, to me, whenever I got on one of these bikes, I felt like I was really stretching to reach the handlebars, that the seating position was too far back. That's not the case anymore. Now I'm feeling some at 50 miles an hour. I get a little bit of air just about just below the chest level, but that's a good thing, especially because right now it's about 95 degrees here in Florida, and it's extremely humid. But that's just the way it is. 6 months of the year it's hot as hell and humid as hell, but 6 months of the year it's fantastic. And it's especially excellent riding in this area, the best we have in the state of Florida, in my opinion. When I first got on a Harley with the M8 motor, the Milwaukee 8, from my 2014 to I had a 2017 Ultra, it was night and day, really. And I still get that feeling when I get on the bike, how smooth, yet it still retains the character of a Harley-Davidson. In other words, it's not so overly refined that you lose that V-twin character that I see happens with so many metric cruisers over the years. In other words, they'll sort of feel like an appliance rather than a V-twin motorcycle. And nobody wants to ride an appliance, you know, cruising around on a refrigerator. So this is definitely a Harley-Davidson motorcycle. Feels like a Harley-Davidson. Extremely refined Harley-Davidson. Now we're up over almost 70 miles an hour. No buffeting to my helmet. Feel a little bit of wind in the throat area, but on a day like this, I'm glad of it. These #1 editions are very limited production. Most dealers are already out of them. Tough to find them. And some of the dealers are asking $5,000 over list price for one. Now Warren Hill told me, Warren is the manager, Warren Hill, he said they're not trying to do that here. They're not trying to scalp anybody. So you don't have to worry about paying over MSRP at Gator Harley-Davidson. By the way, the wheelbase is 64 inches, 26-degree lean angle. That's exactly what you'll find on any of the Harley touring bikes. Just because the fairing is different, nothing else changes. The bike handles the exact same way as any of the other touring motorcycles. I've often heard about people saying, you know, it's weird not being able to have that fairing turn with the handlebars. Well, you shouldn't be looking over here when you're making low speed turns. You should always be looking ahead, so this should have really zero effect on your riding abilities or the ability to maneuver the motorcycle. Well, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you give me a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. And until next time, this is the Motorman. Yet another road test review on a very enjoyable Harley-Davidson motorcycle.